rolling. All right, check. Hey, how are you doing? Hi.
I'm good.
Thank you for coming in. Yeah, I know we got a little bit of your story in the documentary that we did, but we had to, keep trimming down for time and had to cut out a bunch of good parts. And I felt after, doing all the radio versions of the other episodes, I want to get the full story, just to have out there instead of just the increments in the documentary. So I figured it would be a good idea to get you in here for the 7th and final episode, kind of wrap everything up.
Oh, I appreciate it.
So it's going to be, not just interview questions, conversation, but a lot of them from when we did the initial interview back then. But first, where are we? All right. Welcome to the Right Vibes, Tales from Tuleburg Press on K.W.D.C 93.5 Stockton, brought to you by the Fierce Mustang Media Group. I'm your host, BonesInTheBooth, and I am thrilled to bring you a special series showcasing talented artists who have collaborated with the Tuleburg Press and the Right Place. In this series, we dove into the creative minds of artists, writers, authors, poets, rappers, and educators, exploring their journeys, their inspirations, and the impact of their work. Whether you're a literature lover or a fan of lyrical genius, there is something here for everybody. Thank you for joining me in this past 6 episodes as we celebrated the voices and the stories they have to tell. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you got inspired by all the artistic brilliance that makes this community vibrant and diverse. Today, we have the infamous Paula Sheil, founder of the Right Place and Tubleburg Press. Hello, do you want to share a little bit about your personal artistic journey and what led to the inspiration and cultivation of Tuleburg Press and the Right Place?
Talking about one's artistic journey feels like a volume of Encyclopedia Britannica. I think that I've always been a book person. I've always been a reader, writer. I think reading was my salvation as a kid. I had to back off slamming my kids about video games because they were big fans of Zelda, and there was that narrative going along, and it was like, stop, no, I have to save, stop, I have to save, stop, I have to save. And I used to be one with my nose in a book the whole time. My mom, get your nose out of that book and go fold the clothes. Get your nose out of the book, get in here and do the dishes, type of thing. So I had to realize that it was the same sort of escape. Writing also kind of followed that. My family was military, and so moved around a lot when I was a kid and ended up having a lot of pen pals. I wish I still had that box of letters because somewhere along in my moving, all that got thrown away. But when I was a kid, I started playing band instruments. I was in the band, and by the time I got to college, I realized I was not a musician. Music didn't come out of me. Mm-hmm. I could play a musical instrument. I could sight read. But basically the writing and performing took over. And pretty much since I was 17 onward, it's what I've been doing. I've either been writing my own poetry, performing it, working in theater companies. And then somewhere in the 90s, I ended up being an open mic host for quite a while. And out of that grew publishing. And I've been a publisher ever since. So it's kind of an evolution of becoming more for others and maybe like the kind of person I wish had been in my life.
Okay. And so when you're saying like get your nose out of the book, it just reminded me a little bit of that movie Matilda. Back in the day, she was just always reading, and her parents were always telling her to do something else.
Right.
Can you elaborate and tell us what the mission and the goals of the Right Place in Tuleburg is?
Oh, yeah. So after basically, I guess about 2000, things really started to heat up for me because I got my master's degree in writing and consciousness. That's such a great name for a degree. It was fitting because I was a journalist at the time, and so writing about social change is what made the most sense to me. I'm not a fiction writer. I do write poetry. That's my main genre, but I'm really into creative nonfiction. And so moving on into Delta, as an educator, one of the things that kind of fell into place right away was discovering that there had been a writers guild, but it was defunct. And I explored that a little bit and found out that, wow, there was like $400 in the bank and we could do some paperwork and start it up again. And so within a very short amount of time, we had a writers club and we had a magazine. So that's where Artifact came from, Artifact Nouveau. It became when another teacher took it over, and now it's Artifact again. So that publishing thing really sort of settled in. And the real impetus for Tuleburg Press came because Phil Hutchins, who's a professor of English here at Delta College, had published a novel, and his press had gone out of business. So he says to me, I need some support in getting this book published. And I was sitting on some money, a fund developed by Marion Jacobs through the Stockton Arts Commission called, it was a literary forum fund. And I said, oh, well, I'm not going to give you just money to publish a book. Let's start a publishing company. So that's really how it started. We started with $1,250, and now the budget's well over $250,000. And Tuleburg started, the mission was to publish local writers who write about local things. Mm-hmm. And I went into Berkeley to talk to Heyday Press, to talk to Malcolm Margolin. He's a icon in California publishing. And his company published everything California, flora, fauna, indigenous people, rivers, everything. That's what Heyday Press is known for. So Tuleburg essentially became the everything Stockton, San Joaquin. So we publish anything that's related to the people, the culture, the history, what we do, how we are, our, the waterways, the wildlife, it doesn't matter. So if someone came to me with a story about growing up anywhere else, growing up in Nevada, I'm not interested in that. But if they tell me a story about growing up in Nevada and moving to Stockton and having culture shock, I'd be interested. So Tuleburg was really started out of my home because you can do all that kind of stuff with a phone and a computer and everything. But Bill Maxwell, who was kind of a partner in crime from the get-go, he was a bookseller. He had Maxwell's bookmark on the Miracle Mile, and that was his third bookstore. He had started downtown. He purchased Harvard Books, which was just this megalith of old paperbacks and dust. And then he ended up with a bookstore on Yosemite Street in that little shopping center right by what was the Blackwater, which is now Terra Coffee. And then he moved over to the Miracle Mile. So I've always been around book people too. And he gave me a press. Now, a press is different from a printer. So this little press is the one in the back room of Tuleburg that you ink up and the rollers go up and down and they transfer the ink over hand-set metal type and you produce a print. And you do it one at a time, one at a time, one at a time, one at a time. So that little press was the whole impetus for the right place. We needed a place for a studio to do letterpress printing. And I found out that I could get funding from the city of Stockton to offset utilities and rent. And that's really unusual because a lot of funding is program only. We want to fund the direct output of this program to your clients as opposed to your overhead. So we got this funding, and then the rest is history. We've been at the right place since 2017. And what we do there is everything related to the book arts. So letterpress printing, we have two presses, the old Pearl, which was the baby, and then a Chandler and Price, and it's motorized, and both of them are from like 1880 to 1910. They're nice. In that era. And we do paper making and bookbinding, and all of those things I have learned how to do over the course of the last 10, 15 years by teaching myself or training in San Francisco or learning from mentors that have come to Stockton. So we offer the kinds of things at the right place that you can't get anywhere else in the Central Valley right now. And you have to go out, you have to go to San Francisco or LA to do. And most of those studios are closed shop for the artists, whereas we're a training facility where you can learn how to do all those things. So the right place is really it's about the anatomy of the book. So how do you make books? How do you make your own ink? how do you make paper? How do you put it all together? So we do a lot of other things like zine making and all kinds of other paper arts related to bookbinding. So that's kind of the whole thing. It's one-stop shop for printing, publishing, and being creative around the book as the motivation.
Nice. I like that. I'm actually going to just move this because I want you to be comfortable. It seems like you're kind of leaning back, like you don't want to run into it.
Okay, that's cool.
In what ways do you think art contributes to the societal well-being?
Oh, it has to be. I say this all the time. I think the more trouble our society is in right now in terms of, really right now, it's more hellacious than it has been, both in our own country and at the world at large. But when you're suffering and you don't have food and you don't have shelter, when you don't have country, when you don't have neighborhood, when your children are being blown apart in the street, or you're being, handcuffed and hauled away from an immigration office. I mean, what's going on right now makes it really hard to throw the word art out there and have anybody bow down, but it's really what makes us human, because I think even people who are incarcerated, they'll sing and long to dance, and people still resonate with anything that has to do with the output of the soul and the human need to create. And it's what makes us human, I think. I think we try to replicate the beauty we see in the world. Like butterflies don't have to be artistic to be beautiful. They just are. So I think the same thing with waterfalls and meadows of flowers and stampeding elephants. I think human beings need to replicate all that, the rhythms, the color, the flow of nature, and that kind of comes out of us as art.
Mm-hmm. And art says, there's so many positive things to it in general. And my favorite one is just the escape, that people can use to escape whatever it is going on, whether, regardless of how, negative or dramatic, or it could even be something positive, you're just having an overstimulation of something, great, and you just express yourself, take a step out, escape, and kind of, it's almost anything you need it to be when you need it to be.
Mm-hmm. And time just ceases to exist, too, when you're really locked in your own creative process. That's what I really like about The Right Place, because it's not digital. Mm-hmm. Here we are surrounded with this digital reality, but it's analog. It's all waiting for the glue to dry. So it's really calming, and it's a very focused process there.
Doing the analog versions of things really gives you an appreciation and a respect and patience for the art form. I started doing all this with digital cameras, and then when I took a black and white film class here in the next room over, learning how to get the exposure just right, go in the dark room, burning the light through the amount of time with the right, areas burned and dodged and whatnot, the chemicals just right, and it just can't just rattle off a bunch and delete the ones that are ugly. You're going through paper, you're going through chemicals, so you really learn to slow down and kind of try to master your craft and appreciate the whole, the journey, the process, more than the final product, I guess.
I think the mastering the craft is a perfect way to think about it, because it lets you recognize that it is a journey, and you don't have to be good to start, and it doesn't matter, because there are always people who will be lesser capable than you, and always people who will be more. Mm-hmm. So just be on the journey and develop yourself the best ways and the most fun ways you can. I think human beings were designed for fun, and right now our fun is really being cramped.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah, and it's I've never been too much of a writer per se, and how you're saying earlier, musically inclined, I played saxophone in school and stuff, I could physically play it, but as far as just writing stuff and coming out with it, it wasn't my thing. And then getting into the digital media, I fell in love with it. But then there are writers and artists, there's so many people, and sometimes can be discouraging if you're focusing on who's a little bit further on or a little bit more capable. And then sometimes, you got to try not to be too arrogant or let the ego get best of you when you're looking the other direction of people and be like, oh, well,
Right.
they're not as good or I'm better than that. And it's kind of humbling, but like it can be discouraging that there's so many people out there and you got to kind of try to remember, there's, like you said, there's always going to be more, there's always going to be less. Just kind of
Right.
focus on what you want to do, stay in your lane, I guess, a little bit.
Speaking of our whole sense of our digital reality and the world at large, I didn't even listen to the whole podcast, but somebody proposed the idea that we were never meant to know what was going on in the whole world. We were never meant to know that. But our evolution over the last, 10,000 years really has pushed us beyond our original focus, I guess, of being tribal and being in small hunter-gatherer groups of maybe up to 150, but that's as much as our brain can pretty much tolerate when you look at your real friendship circle. I mean, who are the people you really communicate and interrelate with, family and friends? Maybe that is about 150 people.
Yeah.
And so
inner circle.
When you think about that and just trying to be yourself within that group and to be able to maintain those connections, that's about all we can handle. And right now, being completely overwhelmed with everything that's happening in the world.
Yeah, it's
just distracting in a way that's so uncomfortable because you feel powerless and helpless. And so sometimes the only thing you can do is just focus on your art, then whatever that might be, to help you just balance and maintain.
Maintain a little bit of sanity.
Yeah. Good grief. I know.
How does the right place uniquely bridge the book arts and the writing to serve literacy in the community?
Well, I think that the long-term idea of the right place is a legacy project that goes beyond me and is still here a generation from now, and other people can take it over and and move forward with developing book artists. When you think about the book arts, it's something that first the whole community had to be introduced to, because it wasn't an art form that people readily understood. If you say music, they get, oh yeah, music, and there's many genres. You say dance, okay, dance, and there's many forms of dance. And when you say the book arts, everybody goes, okay, what is that?
I wonder if it's because there's a little bit less of a physical aspect.
Well,
dance and music.
Only just not here, though, because there are communities in urban areas that have always had book arts centers and involved with printing and book restoration and book creation, because books can be art. I mean, they can have fantastical covers and painted edges. I mean, books are a medium by which you can carry content, but book artists also use the book form as a way to explore complex ideas and to convey abstract ideas based on the idea that what you're looking at, you read. And it could open in a million ways and fold out or have lots of pieces and parts to it. So introducing the community to the book arts meant that we start with the basics, book binding, letterpress printing, paper making your own ink, things like that. And then you develop people who are good at book binding. I've got a teacher now, Kat Castaneda. She's the best binder in Stockton, outside of me. And yet now I'm probably the most energetic paper maker, but there are plenty of people who can make paper because it's not hard. It's just that I have the volume behind me and I do it with more people. The bottom line is we need to develop people who consider themselves book artists. So just like you say, well, yeah, I'm a musician, I'm a poet, I'm a dancer, I'm a book artist. So we're developing the understanding in our community of the art form and training teachers to excel in some capacity of it and developing our own book artists in this community. And I think that tying it to literacy, people always want numbers. I mean, if they take your classes, do they read at a better grade level? Where are you moving the needle on literacy? And I think that it's a long game. I think of it more as like if we have a book culture and there's places where the book is celebrated and that's part of the fabric of our culture and the way people talk about, what are you doing this weekend? Oh, I'm going to a class at the right place. I'm going to make a zine. or I'm going to make paste paper, or I'm going to make marbled paper. The idea is that the culture permeates people's thinking that that's valuable.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of, I've said this many times before, it's like that movie Field of Dreams, build it and they will come.
Mm.
And partially I started to think abstractly about when you're presented with a piece of paper, that it's really out of context. It's not the book. It's just a piece of paper. And it can be intimidating. There it is. Like right there. What do you write on it? We talk about writer's block, staring at a piece of blank paper. Well, if you make your own book, the first thing you want to do is put something in it. So it becomes the container for your thoughts, and it's not a flat sheet of paper out of context. It has context now. Mm-hmm. So that's that idea of build it and they will come, because kids have said when they finish their book, can I write in it? And you go, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what you made it for.
Right.
You're like, no, just throw it away now. Start over.
Well, the funny part, one other joke about bookbinders is that we have a ton of empty books that we never write in because we just keep making another one.
That's great.
I have a lot.
And what is it that you have?
This is so, yeah. So the whole idea of providing a venue for people is kind of like the fish ladder thing, too, is that this came from when I was doing children's theater. Back in the day, I started Stockton Civic Children's Theater in 1978, and it's still going today. It's called Stockton, what do they call it? Stockton Juniors, SCT Juniors now. That's cool. The current name, but it's still going. That's what I mean about a legacy project.
That's awesome.
Nobody remembers that I started it in 78 and ran it until 84, but it's still going. That's what I want for this. So being a person who is providing the venue and the opportunity. I think that's made me lesser of an artist, that I don't devote enough time to my own art. I don't have my own personal studio. Gives me a little bit of a complex, that I'm not really, I'm not fabulous at any one thing, but I am pretty good at making things happen. And so.
Well, that's something in itself.
It is, but I don't know. I figure I've got enough life left to live to do my own art in a better, more fundamental way.
Making things happen and connecting people and doing all that. Something like like I said, I'm not much of a writer or much of an artist. I'm not very pen to canvas, creative. Mm-hmm. But when I started coming here, like doing the radio station thing, I realized, that's where my value is I have such a big network and I talk to so many people and I'm a bartender.
Perfect.
So like I talk to strangers all the time and I just know how to network, and people always said I have a face for radio and a voice for it too.
Good.
And so I found like that was my value, and so like don't sell yourself short.
No, I just think it's a constant. I think another thing I learned from journalism that editors always pound into you is great story. What do you got for today? It says like the deadline is always there. There's always another story, another pitch, and you never get to ride on your, rest on your laurels, as they say. But anyway, what this is Tuleburg Press received some grant money from the San Joaquin Community Foundation to build our capacity to do bigger things than we're already doing. And that idea, you had to look forward to a grant that was bigger than anything you'd gotten so far. So I looked to the National Endowment for the Arts. I don't think we've gotten any NEA money in San Joaquin County. And they have grants to put on literary festivals. Literary festivals and poetry festivals abound. I just went to the Sierra Poetry Festival in Nevada City on Saturday. There's one out of the Sonora Arts Council. They put on their own poetry festival. Some of them last one day. Some of them last a week. Litquake, L-I-T, Litquake in San Francisco goes on for months. They have all kinds of pop-up things that happen. And then when they get down to actually the Litquake month, then it just gets more and more and more intense. Events pile up and then there's a big culminating thing. And so
sorry, what kind of things happen at these? Like, so you got the pop-ups, they're selling their art, or they're like live readings?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Forums, readings, and readings of all genres. They really make sure everybody has a voice. So there's cowboy poets and queer poets and old poets and people doing recitations of work of the ancients and stuff for kids. And, it's a whole, they have pub crawls where you go from pub to pub and there's a poet in every
Oh, that's cool.
Every bar. Yeah, that type of thing. For us in Stockton, that really wouldn't work because we don't have a concentration where you could do that from pub to pub. But there's other things we can do. So what I did was that I took this money and I gave grants to all the poet laureates in the county. So to Tara Enos in Manteca, to Jonathan Cabello in Escalon, to Nancy St. Clair in Lodi, and to Jazz Marie Latour in Stockton. And did a few other smaller things, paid some other poets to do something, and gave them all money to expand what they were already doing so that they could reach out and we could basically infiltrate the whole county and seed poetry where it wasn't before. And I try to get them to get out of their comfort zone. So they're used to, like Jazz performs at Hatch, and she has their same crowd. I mean, it's the same people. They're comfortable going there. So I said, all right, go to Weston Ranch. You know,
Let's shake things up.
go someplace where you're going to find out that people are hungry. They're going, wow, this is cool that you're here, you know. So what we've done is that you're aware, I'm sure, that we have the Community Medical Center's health center here at Delta. Well, they are an amazing healthcare provider for our entire community, especially with people without insurance and without means. And they have a health center here, but they've been running an event called Words Outspoken since before COVID. And that's the idea of putting together a day-long slam poetry or spoken word event around the idea of claiming personal narrative, expanding your self-expression, just basically poetry as a healing modality. So we're doing one again October 25th. So these kind of blend together because that's called Words Outspoken. And we're going to use that as a dry run for this event, which is Wordstock 209. So what this actually says on the back, it says Tuleburg Press is compiling a database of San Joaquin literacy advocates. The data collected or gathered will be used to help secure grant funding for a countywide literary festival called Wordstock 209. We are looking for educators, writers, poets, event hosts, and venue managers, and more who might be willing to participate in any capacity. Anyone interested in Wordstock 209 can add their contact information to the database by filling out the form in the link to the left. Don't miss out. So we have several hundred names on this database so far. So this you self-identify. There's a whole list of things you can click off. You can click them all, because it says freelance writers, journalists, teachers, librarians. You just pick what you want. But this way we'll be able to put out the call. So the names are kind of similar, but right now we're working on Words Outspoken, October 25th here at Delta. We're going to use the Don Babylon Forum, the Dolores Huerta Plaza for booth vendors. We even have the Shima parking lot for food trucks. We're not sure if we can push it that big this soon. And then that'll kind of be a dry run for a bigger event, which will include the whole county, where things will happen in Escalon, Lathrop, Tracy, Lockford during the week, and then everybody will come together for another big 2-day event at Delta. And that we're hoping we can do in 2026.
Oh, awesome. That sounds like fun. I definitely don't want to miss that.
No, you're going to be part of it, I'm sure. I mean, because I can't really work without you guys. The whole multimedia department at Delta College is really integral to the success of anything like this.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Oh, yeah.
I'll take, not credit, but I'll give appreciation for everybody else.
Absolutely.
So I was going to ask next, how has Tuleburg Press supported your artistic endeavors and what impact has it had on your career? I know you say you don't create too much anymore holding the venue.
Well, it's interesting because, see, I have to kind of go back. I started off right out of college as an elementary school teacher. So even then, providing opportunities was kind of part of my shtick. Like, I had gone to the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, so I invited the Oregon Shakespeare Festival to come to my classroom. And, we brought actors in who did a day-long thing with the kids.
That's fun.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's what started Talking Civic Children's Theater eventually. But after elementary school teaching, I went freelance for a while, and I taught play development and poetry, school district to school district and kind of freelanced all around the Central Valley. And then I needed to make some money. So I started expanding the freelancing into doing logistics for people and public relations, fund development. I started just helping people create their own programs and so on. And then I still needed to make money. So I ended up working for a nonprofit where writing became a serious part of what I was doing. And that developed into becoming a journalist. So when I became a reporter, I had not taken any journalism classes, had no training, and I find that hilarious today. And that's why I can't teach journalism here at Delta, because I have no academic cred. Mm-hmm. But I have years and years and years of experience and prizes and awards, and, you know, I love writing. And so the idea of Delta, you know, is basically yet another venue to help make things happen for people. Mm-hmm. And the best part about teaching English is that you can talk about anything in the classroom. I mean, it's not like math where you're talking about math. Mm-hmm. When we're talking about English, we can talk about current events. We can talk about the things that are bothering people. We could, you know, anything
type of communication,
anything, because you're going to write about it, right? Or you've got to deal with so many different topics to get people motivated. So Tuleburg has just pushed me out into the community, or helped create just the four solid legs of like a seat at the table in the community. Because Delta can be your whole life. And this is kind of funny, because some people, when they get wrapped up in Delta, I say, you know, Delta's your job, not your life. But I know people have very satisfying affinity for Delta as life. Mm-hmm. But for me, my life is really Stockton, and it always has been. And so doing what I'm doing in the community is just basically saying, Stockton, I see you, I hear you. This is how I want to participate in your history. I want to be accounted for while I was here, and I want to leave you with something, because this has just been a great life.
I like how you put that.
You know, I make this stuff up right off the top of my head.
Oh, yeah.
I don't practice any of this.
Yeah, you're good at freestyling.
Yay!
Which is it was just funny, because I remember when one of the first times I met you, I think I was wearing a Living Legends.
Oh, yeah.
And then you commented, which kind of took me back. I was like, this lady knows who Living Legends are? You know, and then you told me about your son and whatnot.
Right. My son introduced me to Orlando. He introduced me to a whole genre that I would not have really paid much attention to. Mm-hmm. You know, and people, too, that I respect tremendously.
Yeah, it's like growing up, my older brother, he was into hip hop and rap, and I was more into rock and metal, and I just didn't care for it, didn't give it the time of day for the longest time. Just like at the time, like I didn't want to hear people talking about stuff. I wanted to hear cool guitar riffs and fast drums and all that. But then at some point, I'd moved out of town for a while following a relationship, and then came back some years later. And then all of my friends, you know, from growing up in teenage years, when we were going to hardcore shows and whatnot, they were all rapping now. I was just like, what happened? And they're just like, it's hard to get a band together and get 4 or 5 guys all on the same page.
Right.
If you know, you can find a beat and you could just write it. That's just you. That's your art. And so my best friend, Kelvin, Celador is what he goes by. He's a big influence on like my music and artistic taste. And so he kind of gave me the nudge to give it another shot and start paying attention to. And I have kind of I wouldn't say a snooty, picky taste, but I have a picky taste. Like if I'm listening,
I think we all have favorites.
If I'm listening to hip hop, I like storytellers. I like being able to kind of paint a picture in my mind, or see like some type of music video. You know?
I know. I agree, and I can't deal with any of the rap hip hop that's all. Well, it's not hip hop so much, but rap that's just straight up profanity and straight up dissing women. I mean, anytime that it gets to that level, I just can't. I just tune out. I can't deal with it. Mm-hmm. I mean, right now I'm even pissed off when I hear guys say my girl got pregnant. I thought, what? Breathing air?
Yeah.
Eating an apple? I mean, anytime I hear a guy say that, I just want to go, and you had what to do with that? Like, so anytime this stuff is about, you know, tearing down women, I mean, even when somebody uses the term bitch, it's like, you know, I trip on that, you know, and just kind of like stop it. And right now the environment in terms of women is just so painful. I can't hardly stand it. because I grew up, of course, in the 60s and 70s, and I thought we'd accomplished so much in terms of advancing our society, in terms of tolerance, in terms of acceptance, in terms of welcoming people's talents and putting them to good use and creating our purpose together. And now I feel like we're just like, oh my God, backwards. So if music doesn't bring out the best in you, if music is about bringing somebody down, not into it.
Yeah, that's not art. Yeah. And even beyond music, like any type of art form, if it's not building something up, if it's just meant to be destructive or bring someone down, I don't really call that art.
Agreed.
Yeah. So sorry, we kind of went on a tangent there.
It's so easy to do.
But I was surprised when I learned that you were into hip hop, and it was just cool because meeting you and then doing the podcast or the documentary, spawning that into the podcast, because Adriana had met with Melchor at the what was the event called again?
Fully Booked.
At the Fully Booked. She was just like, yeah, let's get him in for a radio interview. And then that spawned into the idea of the podcast. And meeting Melchor, I learned who his brother was, Snap Jackson, and I've already mentioned him on the first. And just me being a photographer and a Living Legends fan, I was just super stoked that just the one assignment that, we kind of not took on a whim, but like I didn't know much about Tuleburg and stuff, but took on that assignment and just opened a bunch of doors for me personally.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and so
that's
like
great.
I've been getting into concert photography and getting a bunch of stuff done.
Cool.
And, like I appreciate, not that was your direct intention, but yeah, you definitely have helped out in my career as well.
That's great. Well, Melchor's going to Sligo this year.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he's going to Sligo, Ireland. Josh is there now.
Yeah,
Josh Gil-Sutton is there now.
Yeah, and I had met him for the first time at the event and then doing the podcast, and I keep in contact with him. He's become a good buddy. I went to his last show, his going away thing.
Oh, yeah.
And they had the whole band and everybody just jamming. It was such a good time. And I keep in contact with him on Instagram, sending pictures and stuff, watching the stores. I love all the greenery out there.
I know.
Yeah, it's great. And then I know he had fallen on a little bit of tough times, and he said that you were a great help. You were able to help him out a little bit recently. So that's just more and more. Anything I hear about, like all the other 6 episodes where, people talking about Tuleburg, nothing but great things to say about you. Even, off the air, just talking to Josh, he's just like, yeah, I'm not sure, I might have to come back, and, and then I hit him up the next couple of days. I'm like, how you doing? Are you doing all right? What's up? He's like, I'm doing better. Paula was able to help me out, and so she's a lifesaver. So you're just, it doesn't end with you.
Oh, you're so funny. You're so kind.
Left and right.
I just think,
your reach.
He's the same age as my sons. My sons are all 40, 42, 40, they're all at that same age. And I think that, parenting never ends. Mm-hmm. And it's a generational thing. If you can make life somewhat easier for the generation after you, you should do everything you can to make that happen. I think a lot of what I do is because I either didn't have it or didn't have it soon enough. And I'm going to say straight up, a lot of the good things that have happened to me were not because of my parents. Mm. I do have to give it up to my dad for introducing me to sailing. He found out that I was interested, and he said, I've got a sailboat down here. If you want it, come and get it. He's been dead for 20 years now, but going and getting that sailboat changed my life, because for 20 years, my husband and I sailed all around the Mediterranean, all around the Caribbean,
That's awesome.
With not our boat, but with other sailors. And so that's such a tangent, but it is something where something can happen to you and open a door. And so it helped bring my relationship with my father into a good space before he died.
That's good.
Yeah, it did. It didn't bring about 100% reconciliation. I think I'll be trying to do that the rest of my life. But partially what it is just participating and making things happening for other people, opening a door. And it doesn't have to be even open all the way. Just crack it open a little bit and see if they go through.
Mm. Nice. And so we had mentioned the Sligo scholarship, and I know you mentioned a little bit earlier. But did you want to go over the different specific programs and initiatives, or explain a little bit more about the Sligo Scholarship that the Right Place offers?
Yeah, we'll start with that one because I didn't start it. Ned Liba, who's a CPA, actually he's Tuleburg CPA, he had Seamus Haney, who is an Irish poet who's passed away now, but that was his English teacher at Cal Berkeley when he was a kid. And that was what turned him on to poetry. And you wouldn't think that a CPA, a numbers guy, and plus he was a jock, he played football for Cal, would turn into such a lover of literature and of poetry and of everything Irish culture, Irish music, Irish mythology, Yeats, the whole thing. And so I don't know exactly, I have to look up the history, but at some point he discovered the W.B. Yeats, William Butler Yeats Summer School in Sligo. Now, Yeats was born in Dublin, but lived most of his life in Sligo. And he was part of all those artists at the beginning of the 1900s that really affected Irish politics and helped to create an Irish identity. And we still had a long way to go with the troubles and the problems with Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland yet to come, but they were revolutionaries in their own right. And so this summer school has been going on since the 50s, I guess. And he decided to create a scholarship program to take two people, one from University of Pacific and one from Cal Berkeley, and pay their expenses to attend that week-long summer school. That went on for a couple years, and he asked me once, he called me and said, I have to write a column for the Record on Stockton poetry. I don't know that much about it. Can you give me a class? So I put together, I have an extensive library, and I put together a lecture essentially for him, and we talked, and I was able to introduce him to Melchior and to quite a few other poets in the community, and he wrote his column. But at the end of our interview, I said, well, what about the Sligo thing? Can Tuleburg be involved? Because there's a lot of people that don't go to four-year. They don't go to the University of Pacific. Yeah. They don't go to Berkeley. And so Tuleburg sponsors two people. And if we can get one from the community at large and one from Delta, great. If they both come from Delta or both come from the community, the point is that that's who we sponsor. And so I raise money. I have a fabulous donor named John Hardiman who lives in Madison, Wisconsin, but he's part of my circle. Mm-hmm. And it turns out, when I was talking about Sligo as a project, he said, well, I'm interested in that. So he gave us some money to start. And then when I went, I've been twice now, but I went to do the program myself, to go to all the lectures, to meet the people, to see what the town was like. I invited John to come. I said, I've rented this big house. There's a room for you. And I found out that his people were from Sligo. So that's the funny part about fundraising and developing donors and developing revenue streams for your projects. You never know what's going to turn somebody on. You know, you don't know why they're motivated to participate with you. Yeah. So at this point, we have a good funder who might be in it for a while. And we've got two people going this year. And what we do is we put out the call, I guess the beginning of September. It's a very simple application. You just send a poem. It's 3 pages. You send a poem or a story, something you've written. Because not just poets, it can be just writers too. But then you also have to write a statement of like why you want to go or what you think you'll get out of it, what you think you'll bring back. And that's as important. What you write there is as important as whatever creative piece you send us. Because we're really looking for
your intent. Someone
that doesn't say, oh, yeah, I really want to travel. I've always wanted to go to Ireland. You know, that's not going to cut it.
Well, someone that's really going to appreciate, I don't know why I enunciated it that way, appreciate right. The literature, the culture, the whole aspect of what you're going
we just want to see how their mind's going to wrap around that, what they think it's going to do for them. Even if we're not going to hold them accountable, they're going to come back and teach or come back and share or anything like that. We just want to see how they envision themselves there. And so then we pay the airfare, the room and board. I mean, they get a stipend. They do have to pay their own food. Mm-hmm. But there's some dinners, but we basically pay their way to go.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a fun time.
I'm definitely not as I said again, I'll say again, I'm not very literate and I don't write much, but I don't know if I can necessarily speak on behalf of the internship in the Fierce Mustang Media, but whether it be us or me personally, if you guys ever want someone to come and document, I will follow you guys around for the week with a camera.
I would take you up on that.
And we could, have a whole, video or something about that experience.
I think that would be very worthwhile because I did just create an MOU with Josh that's much more extensive than the verbal and the handshake deal we had when we sent him over. Mm-hmm. So it's much more specific about developing the community there so that more people in Sligo are interested in going to the thing that's in their backyard. You know how that is.
Yeah.
And creating more of a documentary about Sligo like that would probably do a lot for interesting people.
Yeah, I'll definitely mention that to Adriana and see what she has.
Yeah, because I think $5,000 would pretty much do it. It's really, we started off only needing like 2,500. But it's gone up. So I say like 3,500. It pretty much is the whole package. And then Ned provides all the airfare through his miles because he's an extensive traveler. I mean, that might not always be the way it is, but it's not a very expensive proposition. Mm-hmm. And your biggest challenge would be hauling all your stuff around.
Yeah. But yeah, that would definitely be something to think about. And
I'm already thinking about it, though.
And so where were we here?
On the edge of greatness.
So that was just a Sligo. Did you have any other programs?
Oh, yeah. Well, as far as writing goes, at the very same time period, we have a call for manuscripts. So Tuleburg does not publish unfinished. We don't take on work that's unfinished. If you have a manuscript that's completed, fiction or nonfiction, we entertain those from September through the end of October. So I don't read manuscripts outside of that period. Otherwise, people would be sending them to me all the time. At that time, we look for the fit for our mission that it's really about Stockton. And some people have tried to take an existing story and just change place names, and that doesn't really work. Like when I pick up a novel and I've been to a certain community like San Remo, Italy, and I pick up a novel and it's set there, I see myself on those streets. I see myself going to that cafe. I know it's real. And that's what I want for Stockton literature, Stockton-based authenticity. Because I'm looking for the next Leonard Gardner. I'm looking who wrote Fat City, or the next Maxine Hong Kingston, who wrote Woman Warrior, China Men, Tripmaster Monkey. I mean, she's a legend. There's a school named after Maxine, an elementary school. She grew up on Hazleton Street, went to Edison High School, ended up at Berkeley, taught at Berkeley. She's retired now. But she's our most famous. Well, she and Leonard Gardner are right up there, as far as literary products from this area. So that's kind of the goal of Tuleburg Press in general, publishing. Then we have a chapbook series that Tama Brisbane, our poet laureate emerita, named, and we call it the Chap Lip Library series. So we published 4 last year. That's where you met Heather Rule. I published her initially when she did her stories of Chinese fairy tales with a twist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And see, that's local because she heard those stories growing up, and then she put her own American sort of twist on them. So we published her chapbook, one by Colin Fitzgerald, one by Ben Sanchez, and one by Jonathan Lopez. Mm-hmm. So those are the 4. This year we have funding to do 6. So I won't put the call out for that until June, because right now I'm working on the anthology. Mm-hmm. So the anthology is right now, it's 209 Labor. We don't really have a title for the book yet, but it's about the first anthology that we published in 2025.
That was the agriculture one. Right?
Well, place. It was about place.
Okay.
About Stockton as a place. Could be the Delta, could be your neighborhood, just growing up here, being from here. This one's on labor, how we work. Everything from manual labor to creative labor and everything in between. It's funny because the next one I'm going to do, I already have the idea for it, because what's funny is people don't really think a poem works unless it's long. Everybody writes poems that are like 3 pages long. And I have been loath to put parameters on it, but I just came back from the Sierra Poetry Festival, and my next anthology is going to be short takes on big troubles. Mm. So 10 lines, that's all you get. short takes on big trouble. So then people can write about whatever they want, but the poems have to be short and they have to fit on one page.
Yeah, and it's really makes you have to again slow down, choose your words wisely, be patient, and really kind of think about how you want to approach and express.
And not just go on and on and on. So very few people really know the craft of revising and editing their own work.
Oh yeah, my mom, you haven't met her, but she's been loving everything that I've done with and the projects involved, because growing up, she worked at the Modesto Bee. I live in Modesto. I'm from Modesto, and she was I don't want to misquote. I can't remember if she was the editor or what, but she did something for the Pirates Log at MJC for years, and has always been, a lover of literature. Now she's currently a librarian at a couple elementary schools in Modesto.
Oh, nice.
So everything that I've shown her that I've done with you, she loves it. She's all about it. So, and I definitely know the revising thing, because I hated growing up. Well, I didn't hate growing up, but like when I had to write papers, crumble it up, start over. A lot of times wouldn't even tell me what the mistakes were. I just had to revise, start over. But she always pushed me to, she knows I could do better. She expected better and stuff, but I just hated the revision part. I got it done. I don't want to think about it anymore.
Right. Well, they say that no writing is really finished. It's just abandoned. Because I have never written anything that I couldn't go back and change somewhat. But I think that's kind of true. I think artists have proven it over and over again. They painted over canvases. You can't really, you can re-dance a dance, but nobody can, unless it's recorded, they don't even know what you danced the first time. But, it's all process. It's all process.
Yeah, if I keep looking at a piece, I'm eventually going to find something that I'm going to want to change or improve or whatever.
Obviously.
So, as an artist, it is hard to make that definitive point to decide, okay, this is done.
Think about the diversity just in the daisy, how many daisies there are, and every one of them is different. It's kind of like whatever is behind life and creation is like, well, let me try another one. Let me try another one. Let me try another one. It's kind of funny when you think about it like that.
Yeah. So what challenges have you faced as an artist and getting Tuleburg up and going, and how have you overcome that? Well, not even just up and coming, maintaining and continuing.
Yeah, it's always about money. It's always about money, financial support, and that's only if you expect to grow. If you can stay consistent with the space you're in, with the people you're in, with the product you have, then you don't need to grow. And that's a problem with our society, is the idea that to be successful, you have to grow. You have to be bigger, better, do more. And I'm kind of fighting that right now. Now, I didn't have to turn a profit with anything related to publishing or the nonprofit, because I have Delta. I mean, I've never paid myself anything through Tuleburg. So I've been a volunteer the whole time.
Passion project.
Yep, pretty much. And because I have Delta, I have a great job. I love my job. So making money or making a sustainable living from art has not been my concern, like it is for a lot of people. You don't think of yourself as a success until you're living your art. It's paying your bills.
Yeah, I have 1 month paid all my bills off of.
Yeah, most people never get there.
Yeah.
And that's the sad part, because art shouldn't have to be monetized. Art certainly is inspirational, motivational, and sustaining, but not necessarily sustainable. It can sustain your soul, but if you want it to support you, this is just not the culture or the time. And I don't know that it ever has been. You go back to the Renaissance and you look at the painters living under the auspices of their patrons, the Da Vinci's living under the Medici's, that kind of thing. That still was just a few, but then they took on apprentices. So that model actually kind of works, but our culture just doesn't really support art in that way. So you got to do it whether you make money at it or not. And Tuleburg has 3 paid people, but they're all part-time. But they're still good jobs for Stockton in the arts.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm proud of that. I wish we could make their living, I wish they could be full-time, and I wish they could be paid more and have benefits. I mean, have a real job.
Yeah.
So that's just the biggest challenge. I think the second biggest challenge is just getting people to be aware of what it is, because the reactions are always either just surprise.
Like, oh, wow, I didn't know you were
I didn't know
that.
you were here.
Yeah.
Right. Or, wow, I've seen something like this, somewhere else. But it's just hard to really move as fast, I think, as I'd like to. I'd like everybody to know that Tuleburg is where it is as a publisher, and the right place is where it is as a creative writing and book art center, the same way they know that we have the Hagen Museum or the Stockton Symphony or any of those. I'd like to
Create
have
your
it,
space in the world,
in
the scene,
in the books, right?
And so how would you say you stay motivated and continue to find the inspiration to keep it going?
It's either that or suicide.
Oh, well, we don't want that.
No, I just am trying to say that, life is so tricky. You just have to get up every day. And like I tell my students, suit up and play. It may not be a game day for you, but if you don't suit up and play, you can't change your game.
Yeah.
It's just, it is like I do have existential angst. And I think a lot of people, especially younger people that I know, they don't think that I get depressed or have imposter syndrome or have, what keeps you motivated?
Mm-hmm.
Sheer will.
Yeah.
Sheer will.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen you in a bad mood. You've always seemed pretty upbeat and in a good mood. Not that I've seen you so much.
I can shred people's souls if I'm in a bad, and I've done it, and they've called me out on it. So trust me, I know.
But yeah, obviously we don't want the latter solution, but I like to keep the idea of what else do I have going on?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to take that route out, but then it's I guess I'll do this. What else do I got going on other than continue to get up and suit up and be ready to play?
Well, some of it is really, I try to tell, I love teaching English because I can go in the classroom and say a bunch of this kind of stuff to students that look like they don't really want to be there and get everybody back on the same track, which is you got to get up in the morning, you got to make your bed. You got to put the dishes in the dishwasher or wash the dishes in the sink. You got to clean out your toilet every once in a while. You got to feed the cat or take the dog for a walk. There's just things, you got to chop wood, carry water.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when you just can't think, I can't write this paper, I can't go to this job, I can't see this person, you just got to stop and sort out your sock drawer. Just stop and do something physical and just keep on keeping on. That's what I do. I don't mind housework. I don't mind sorting and organizing. I don't mind pulling weeds. I don't mind vacuuming at the center, because sometimes you just have to do those things so that you can cross that anxious divide to productivity again.
Yeah. Some days it is harder to wrap my head around wanting to sit down and edit something or complete something. So yeah, I'll find myself doing laundry, reorganizing something to kind of give my brain a break from even just thinking about it or trying to get into mentally preparing myself to do stuff. It could be overwhelming and just kind of, all right, yeah, take my dog for a walk,
See, that's not what I call procrastination. Procrastination is the willful ignoring it and thinking, oh, I'll get to, I
appreciate that, because I felt like I was always trying to give myself a loophole or talk my way out. I'm like, no, it's not procrastination. I just, I'm working up to, mentally preparing myself or whatever.
It is. You have to give your brain a break.
Mm-hmm. So,
and your brain needs organizational. It's like taking, you remember those pickup sticks that came in a tube and you dropped them and they were all over the place? It's just like getting all those gathered up again. You got to gather everything up and then you can let it go again.
Mm-hmm. And so, can you share any memorable success stories or the impacts the right place has had on the individuals And I know, like in the what I mentioned at the beginning, we had to trim a lot of the stuff down and cut stuff out. Like the story that you shared when we were recording the documentary about your pieces to piece and all that. I was just like, man.
I'm going to return to that.
Yeah, no, and that's where this question is pretty much going to.
Right.
I want that story because I was just like, having to cut a bunch of that out for time out of the documentary, so now we can get the full story.
Well, I'm going to preface it by saying, when I was a kid, Vietnam was my war. That was the first real conscientious objection to our military involvement in a non-self-defense way. And so Vietnam really was my teenage young adult war. And fast forward to Tuleburg, and I got introduced to this grant possibility to make paper with veterans. And Jessica Fong, who's the gallery operator really for the Elsie Mae Goodwin Gallery on the Miracle Mile, she helped me write a grant to the California Arts Council to do paper making, and we brought Drew Matat from Germany. He's an American expat in Germany, living the papermaker's life. And he came and trained me on some equipment that they have at the University of Pacific. So another person who helped was Xochitl Paderas, and she helped me line up the veterans to come and do that, because the idea was for the veterans to cut up military garments of significant emotional impact to them, garments they'd worn in combat or garments that they'd saved from their military tour of duty. So this one guy, older man, Joe Mays, shows up with a brown towel, and we're going, okay, like I'm expecting khakis, I'm expecting, military shirts, I'm expecting like POW-MIA, POWMIA t-shirts from whatever. And he has this brown towel. So the story with that towel is when he was drafted at 19, he was like all of 100 pounds dripping wet. And that brown towel he put over his shoulders to protect his shoulder from his ammo belt. Because at his weight, he was carrying half again his weight, 50 to 60 pounds around every time he went into the bush. All his gear, his weapon, his ammunition, and all that stuff. So his story was a big secret for a while. I mean, he was just a guy that came, made paper out of this brown towel, and made a journal. And he's a Southern Ute native, born in Stockton, but his grandparents were on the reservation. And he started silently participating in this writing group that went on for 6 months after that. And all the other veterans in the program were talking about their stories. And he never said a word. And finally, he shows up one day with a stack of papers of everything that he'd written about his time in Vietnam. And it turned out to be a book. I mean, he never thought of it as a book. He thought of it as, I am just explaining to my children why I was the father I was, or was not, why I was emotionally distant, why I drank, why I fought, why I was the man I was. And how he did it, he wasn't a writer. I mean, he's barely literate. What he was doing was talking into his phone and then using Dragon software or something to get it onto the computer. So that book became my spiritual walk as a wolfhound, a grunt in Vietnam. And that book has sold 1,000 copies. No, I'm going to take that back. Joe Mays has sold 1,000 copies of that book, like 1-to-1, 3-to-1. Everywhere he goes, he takes flyers, he tells people his story. And that right there is the punchline of the whole thing, or he is selling that book. Mm-hmm. He has completely changed as a man, as a spiritual self, as a life force. I mean, that Vietnam was just crawling through his body the whole time. It's still there. He still has night sweats and wakes up, and his wife says every once in a while he'll fling his arm over and knock her out. No, not knock her out, but But those are, I mean, he's in his 70s, and those are less and less and less. And he's a completely different person. He goes out, he does public speaking. His relationship with his children is different. He comes to my class because we read that book in our class. I mean, to me, when I do a full circle thing, he's my Vietnam. For all the animosity I felt towards my own father and the war at that time and the whole military incursion that our country, by being able to help him recoup his humanity, it's like, wow, I'm done. I'm done here. I feel like, if I stepped off the planet tomorrow, I will have done my job.
Accomplished.
Yeah, it's great.
And so, along with Pieces to Piece, where are there, or that was one of the programs. You have any other, I guess, success stories or any other?
Well, I kind of focus. We've done so many things. Like we have bookbinding classes and paper making classes, but paper making has really, really blossomed under Pieces to Piece. And if you understand what we're talking about, it's pieces, cut up pieces, PIECES to piece, PEACE. Mm-hmm. And we didn't invent that whole thing. It started off as combat paper using veterans, and then it went to the Peace Paper Project, and we have our own version of it. We just call it Pieces to Piece, and lots of people come through. I did 20 different clients last year, some of them working through some trauma, mm-hmm. but some of them manifesting a different life for themselves. One person came in and wanted to think ahead to a new career, and so that's what she focused on the whole time she cut up the garment and made her paper. So that Pieces to Piece is a pretty solid health and wellness and mental health support art form. Mm-hmm. And so we're not going to change that. That's just going to stay the way it is. The other successes are basically just introducing youth to some sort of activity at the center that's completely different from anything they do in their schools now. And they're always shocked. Like we just had St. Mary's there on Monday. And again, the response was, wow, I had a really great time. I really liked writing poetry, because they're looking at Armando Perez's murals on the wall and writing to those. And it's just a different experience when they're in a real place with real art, focusing on what they think and how they feel about something. So I think the successes are yet to come.
Yet to come?
If we've done it, then there's no reason to go on, right? But I think there's many more to come.
I hope so. And then, like you said, it'll be a legacy even beyond you and everybody that's currently involved. So, more successes coming beyond that point.
I hope so. I hope somebody, you can't ever really worry. Is somebody going to take it on and take it over? I mean, it is what it is. If somebody does, they will. Mm-hmm. And it'll change. When I was publishing Artifact at Delta College, each year the publication looked a little bit different because there would be a new editor. And you can't really force an editor to do the product the same way it's always been, because then they can't really use it in their portfolio to show what they've done. So it has to be a means for them to explore and to be able to claim their time with your product as theirs. So Tuleburg will be whatever it is in its next incarnations.
Mm. Well, I appreciate you coming in and getting to share a little bit more in depth than we had the chance to during the documentary. And something that I like to do on the past episodes that I took from a different podcast idea is, if you want to look into your camera here, and if you have one word or phrase that you would want to leave our listeners with, what would it be?
Wow. Wow, after all that talking, the silence just feels good.
Just enjoy the silence.
I think so. I can't think of anything else now. The whole Nike just do it always comes up, like there's no excuse. So maybe there's just no excuse.
No excuses.
No excuses.
All right. You heard it from Paula Sheil. No excuses. Thank you for tuning in to the final episode of The Right Vibes, Tales from Tuleburg Press on K.W.D.C. 93.5 Stockton. I hope today's episode brought you a fresh perspective and a dose of inspiration from Paula Sheil. Keep supporting local artists, and be sure to check out all our other previous episodes if you haven't watched them already. Please follow us at the Fierce Mustang Media Group, the Tuleburg Press, The Right Place, and for more artistic journeys. And I am Bones out the booth.
Wow. That's all right.
Reading the script for the final.
Wow, that's cool.
But I like to go with
Yeah, I never know. And I never go back and listen to anything I ever do like this. Never go back. I don't want to see it. You can have those. Take them all, put them out there. Yeah, spread them around. I printed 5,000.